Oleksiy and his fellow artillerymen can thank the world's richest person Elon Musk every time they hit a Russian target. Oleksiy, who doesn't want to give his last name for security reasons, is now a power user of Starlink, a satellite communication system owned by Musk's company SpaceX. He is in a frontline hot zone just south of the strategic town of Izyum in the war-torn east of Ukraine. Hello and welcome to our YouTube channel. In this video, we will tell you how Elon Musk's space satellite changed the war on the ground. But before we start our video, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon. So, let's begin. When planning a counterattack or artillery barrage, he calls his superiors for the last-minute orders through a rectangular, white and gray star-like satellite receiver hidden in a shallow pit in the garden of an abandoned cottage. The high-tech equipment is hooked up to a noisy generator that runs for half the day. It's not just about how the military talks. Others in the Ukraine's 93rd Mechanized Brigade let friends and family know they're safe by sending daily encrypted satellite messages. This is because the local cell phone network was destroyed by heavy shelling a few weeks ago. Oleksiy and his fellow soldiers use Starlink's internet connection to find out what's going on in the war. When there's a break between artillery battles, they play Call of Duty on their phones while hiding in bunkers and waiting for orders. Oleksiy said, "Thank you Elon Musk," after logging on through Starlink satellites and learning that Biden administration would send long-range rockets to the Ukraine army to help them fight the Russians. He also said about the rockets, "This is exactly what we need." In the first 100 days since Russia invaded in the western neighbor, thousands of people have died, even more have been hurt. Ukrainian forces are now in a war of attribution with the Russian army, which keeps chipping away at local resistance in the east of the country, despite losing ground in and around Kyiv. Since the war began in the late February, the US, the EU, and other NATO countries have given Ukraine military equipment worth billions of dollars. But Musk's Starlink, which is based on a group of table-sized satellites flying as low as 130 miles above the Ukraine and beaming down high-speed internet access, has become an unexpected lifeline for the country, both on the battlefield and in the war for public opinion. Starlink has helped the Ukraine drones drop bombs on Russian positions and front lines. People in the cities near the Russian border that were under siege could talk to their loved ones through encrypted satellites. The country's president, Volodymyr Zelensky, has kept his millions of social media followers up to date on the progress of Musk's network. He also held Zoom calls with the world leaders like the US Vice President Joe Biden, French President Emmanuel Macron. Because they had a Starlink system in the besieged factory, the Ukraine troops who stayed in the Azovstal steel plant and the Mariupol could stay in touch with their commanders and even Zelensky. They could also do live video interviews with journalists. All in all, Starlink and Ukraine's use of the satellite network for both military and civilian purposes has stopped Russia from cutting off the Eastern European country from the rest of the world. This has given Kyiv a much-needed victory over Moscow in a conflict that doesn't look like it's gonna end anytime soon. The strategic effect is that it completely destroyed the Vladimir Putin's information campaign, said Brig. General Stu Budov, director of the space portfolio at the Defense Innovation Unit, the Pentagon's Silicon Valley tech outpost, up to this day, he has never been able to shut Zelensky up. The conflict in the Ukraine has also been a test run for the Musk and SpaceX new satellite network, which has made many Western militaries want to use it more. Commanders have been impressed by the company's ability to send thousands of backpack-sized satellite stations to a war-torn country within days and keep them online even as Russian hackers get better at attacking them. Mikhailo Fedorov, Ukraine's vice prime minister, told, We have more than 11,000 Starlink stations, and they help us fight every day on all fronts. We are ready to fix any connection in the Ukraine, even if there is no electricity or fixed internet. We can do this with generators in Starlink. Battle for the sky. In the Eastern Europe war, what's getting worse? Satellite communication is important for more than just Ukraine. Just an hour before Russian troops launched their full-scale attack in the early hours of the February 24th, the Kremlin successfully hacked Vysat, an American satellite provider, whose network was used by the Ukrainian military to talk to the frontline troops, according to the intelligence reports from the US, EU, and the UK. The cyber attack broke the country's military communications, cut off the internet for thousands of people across Europe. This sped up talks between Kyiv and SpaceX to bring the satellite network to the country, which started in early 2022 according to the 4 officials with knowledge of the talks. The government of Zelensky knew that having access to the internet, both for the military and for the civilians, would be very important in the likely war that was coming. During the fog of war, soldiers needed a reliable way to stay in touch. Raw footage of the Russian attacks, often posted by Ukrainians themselves on the social media, has brought the conflict directly to the people's smartphones around the world. SpaceX want to send more than 40,000 satellites into what's called low Earth orbit in the next few years. They quickly put about 50 satellites in place in the Eastern Europe country so they can be used there. But red tape, like the fact that the system couldn't be turned on without the official government approval, slowed down the rollout. The Russian went to war 2 days after the invasion. On February 26th, Fedorov, who is also the digital minister of the Ukraine, tweeted directly at Musk to send Starlink equipment as soon as possible. The first package came 2 days after that. They tweeted at Elon, so we turn it on. Gwynne Shotwell, president of the SpaceX, told an audience at the California Institute of Technology on the March 7th about the Starlink's arrival in the Ukraine. That was our go-ahead. That was the minister's letter. It was on the Twitter. SpaceX did not answer when asked over and over again what it was doing in Ukraine. What is the big deal with Starlink? Commercial satellite providers have been used on the battlefield before Starlink. During the first Gulf War, the US military used private networks to send and receive messages. This is a common practice in war zones around the world. But Starlink is different from the other low-orbit satellite networks like Amazon's early-stage project because it can withstand attacks from the Russians, according to 3 military officials who speak on the condition of anonymity and 2 researchers who have studied Starlink. Traditional high-orbit satellites orbit thousands of miles above the Earth, hover over one spot on the ground, send down radio signals. The new generation of low-orbit satellites, on the other hand, is made up of a constellation of many more satellites. Because of how it is set up, it's harder, if not impossible, to shut down because an attacker would have to find all of the satellite at once to shut down the whole system. Starlink is also more flexible than the other options because the computer code in each device can be changed quickly in response to possible hacks. Musk said last month that Russia was stepping up its cyber attacks on his network, and SpaceX has changed its code many times to stay ahead of Russia. Musk's satellite system is a big step forward in how satellites can be used and rolled out in the conflict zones. This is because it offers high-speed internet from space that can compete with the broadband networks in people's homes, among other things. All eyes on Musk. How the Starlink equipment got to the Ukraine is a mystery, just like everything else about Musk, the mysterious billionaire whose business interests range from the electric car company Tesla to a bid for the social network Twitter. Soon after the first equipment started to arrive in Kyiv, the tech tycoon from the South Africa, who has gotten into fights on social media and gotten in trouble with the financial regulators, briefly texted the Ukraine politician Fedorov. He also talked to the Zelensky about the ongoing rollout through the Starlink and Izyum. He promised to visit Ukraine as soon as the war was over. In public statement, the company said that almost all of the money for the satellite communication system in the Ukraine came from the private sources. The system is estimated to cost around $15 million, and each satellite receiver, called Dishy McFlatface, cost $499. SpaceX has promised to pay for all the internet access, which cost $110 a month for people outside of the Ukraine. Yet USAID said at the beginning of April that it had brought more than 1,300 satellite dishes for the Starlink project, and the SpaceX had given them another 3,600 stations. After that, the US government agency took out from its press release any mention of how much equipment Washington had bought, but it did confirm that it had shipped the equipment from the US to the Eastern Europe. That's all we have for today. If you enjoyed watching this video, give it a like. Also share waves in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon as well. Thanks for watching.